Welcome to the Travel Ones podcast, and today my guest is Jamey Whetstone. He is the founder, creator, vineyard, I don't know the proper term for you, the winery owner of Fresh Vines, which is actually a really cool, unique twist on wines, which is really big out here in the California area. How are you today, Jamey?
I'm really good, Pete.
Cool, buddy.
Very stoked to be on the call, and thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I check it. Obviously, growing up in California and living here for a long time and being around wineries, the Fresh Vine wine is a kind of a new twist on everything. How'd you come up with that, and what's involved?
Yeah, I mean, it's really about sort of chasing down the ideal that I've enjoyed for most of my life, and it's not new in that it's been going on in Europe, for probably millennia, but it's really based around that healthy lifestyle that actually can involve, a delicious glass of wine with a piece of salmon off the grill after, maybe getting a yoga session in earlier, going to work, and then, maybe you're lucky enough to be in the ocean for a surf, before you actually light the grill. And so it's really just based on that, and it's not site specific to California by any stretch of the imagination, but if you're that person, in New York City or Charleston, South Carolina, or Redondo Beach, California, and you're thinking about what you put into your body, and you're living that healthier lifestyle, then Fresh Vine is just that perfect complement.
Well, because it's a low carb wine, right? You say it's
it's
keto and everything.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's low carb, low calorie, and what the heck does that mean? Most wine, south of 13%, 13.5%, is fairly low in carbs to begin with. And so what we're doing is just very simply saying that it can also be, low carb, low cal, but it can be delicious. We're also low alcohol, so the alcohols in our wines, the Cabernet Sauvignon, which is out now, our Pinot Noir, and our Chardonnay, which we're bottling in 2 months. Those are all in the 13.5 and south range. So I'll call it 13.1 to 13.5.
Okay.
So low alcohol by California standards for sure. And then to be very specific on the carb front, right now we're in the 3 to 4, carb per glass of wine range, and we're right in the 118, 117 in terms of calories. One of the things that I signed up for with this brand, and the reason that I thought it was so cool to be a part of, and really, which we've been working on for a little while now, was to be able to do something on the side of it can be a reward, it can be delicious. There's nothing worse than having a diet something or another and it just sucks.
Yeah.
Doesn't taste good, and you get a really screwed up look on your face. And so yeah. This is the opposite of that screwed up look on your face. I don't know why I just said that, Pete. That didn't sound great, but anyway.
I liked it because I knew exactly what you were talking about. Fortunately or unfortunately, I knew exactly. I'm like, I've had that face.
Absolutely.
Well, because as I'm a Southern Californian, and you're right. It's an active lifestyle. At least most of the people that are around here, and so I see that. And as a business traveler, I'm on the road, so it's like, do I eat at Carl's Jr. today, or do I? You know what I mean? It's like, God, I don't want to eat that crap food. And it's the same way when you go out and you eat a really rich meal. You don't necessarily want to pack on more calories and carbs and everything with your wine, but you don't want that. You don't want that ugly face.
You don't want that ugly face, man.
You have to trademark that.
And I think from that lifestyle standpoint, the beer industry has done just a fabulous job of getting beer into everybody's refrigerator. And it's, I mean, even with the sort of new, cult beer, following that's been going on for the last decade or so in this country, they've just been masterful at it. And wine has, for a very long time, been seen as something, maybe a little, I don't know.
Go ahead and go there.
It's got this, yeah, it's got this cachet about it that's super high end.
Yeah.
And so I think at the end of the day, what we'd like to do is show you that you can have something delicious, and it doesn't have to cost a bunch. But we also want to pierce that marketing, Pete, that gets us, access to that younger crowd, that millennial crowd. Whether you're like you and I, you're in your 50s, you're in your 60s. I mean, we really want to like hit the whole strata, but we want to, we want to add to somebody's healthy day. And we don't want to charge a bunch of money for it. So I think it's something that the wine industry has plenty of room to grow in. And this health segment, just it's easy. I'm living it with the tens of millions of people across the U.S. that are doing the same thing. So we're just trying to get our foot in the door with everybody there.
Well, it seems like you're off to a good start. I mean, your Instagram page is crazy good. I mean, that the shots that you're using and all that are phenomenal. So I think that really represents a kind of the lifestyle brand that you're trying to get out there. It's not just
and one of my partners in the brand, Rick Necchio, is just he's a genius, and he worked in the beer industry at the largest of that ilk in the world, and had a real view into marketing and branding, and so. We've got some fairly creative ideas and inroads, into the culture and into the segment. But really at the end of the day, it's just anchored in that healthy way of life. That's the core of Fresh Vine. And there's tons of great stuff going on in the vineyards. I spent a lot of time early on in the vineyard setting, desperately. Learning 2 semesters worth of night school Spanish, and so I could hang out with my good friends from Michoacan and Oaxaca and learn.
Yeah.
But we're sort of going back to that ideal of you do your homework in the vineyard, you can produce something really delicious without having to monkey around with it too much in a laboratory setting, which I didn't go to school for that. So for us, it's really just getting back to that blue collar side of the wine industry, but yet making it sort of a high end product that just doesn't cost a lot, but tastes like something you'd be paying a bunch for.
Well, what's interesting is my dad worked for Coors Beer back in the 70s, and I mean 74, 75, 76, and Coors Beer wasn't sold east of the Mississippi at the time. And so it was very exclusive and all that. And now it's just weird for me to see all the craft beer kind of resurgence or surgence, I guess. And it's neat to hear you say that's kind of what we want to get at. That's going to be an interesting marketing.
For us, it's it works into a couple of venues. We have some great things on the horizon for the Olympics, and for a specific team within the Olympics. We're meeting to do some promo and press toward the end of March up in Lake Placid, where they're practicing. We're also going to be working with music festivals, for instance, Coachella coming up in April, and so the creative side of it is, it's just that, and it seems like it's such a wide open field of play.
Totally agree.
Only a few, there's only a few folks that are even in the know for this healthy segment of wine. So I feel like we're not the first out of the gate, but I think we're improving upon that, and I think we're going to be able to really expand on that. But man, the creative side of it is pretty unlimited. So we're awfully stoked with the possibilities.
Yeah, the potential's huge. I mean, huge. So, you're up in Napa. What makes Napa different than Santa Ynez or Santa Barbara, Temecula, or any other Paso Robles? How is Napa different than those areas?
It's actually a great question. Napa has one side of me is, we've surpassed Disneyland in terms of visitorship
Sure.
on a daily basis. And, that's sometimes tough to think about or corral. But in terms
a blessing
of
and a curse.
it is a blessing and a curse for someone like myself who, has another day job.
Yeah.
A winery here in Napa that's based in Napa, and we're open to the to the public on a daily basis. It's pretty wonderful, and I think for a lot of folks here in Napa, they've come here for a reason, and it's got to be something based around food, wine, or health. There's not a lot else to do here, but I think where Napa separates itself is that the valley is 29 miles long, by roughly 2 miles at its width. But it is when I've been down to Paso, for instance, it's so much more rugged. The beauty down there is a different beauty, and Napa has just become so pristine. It's so gorgeous. The vineyards are, in most instances are older, but I mean, Christ, it is the food and wine scene here. I mean, the celebrities that it's certainly not LA style, but it's for the wine world, it's pretty damn close.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, I know Temecula has grown up, and Santa Ynez, with Solvang and the what was that name of that movie? Sideways. And Paso's got its wineries in it, because I travel up and down the 101, so I get to see a lot of the wineries along the way, and I love when they're like in September, October, when they're starting to bloom and everything's turning goldish. But I got to get up to Napa. It's only Napa's about an hour north of San Francisco, plus or minus.
Correct. Just depending on traffic and whether you come in 80 or go up 101 and turn on 37. The other point to make about Napa too, Pete, is that it's and I travel a good deal for sales, just like you do, and I'm in and out of all sorts of towns and big cities all over the country, and it's the thing that I find when I come back to Napa is just the breadth of just like vegetables that people are generally growing in their own garden. You don't have to be wealthy to grow vegetables.
Sure.
But it's just, the amount of folks that I can go over for dinner, and if you're going to have an egg, granted or chances are they've just walked out back and grabbed,
got it. Yeah.
Those eggs out of their own chicken. So the valley is really, it's you mentioned the Carl's Jr. thing earlier, and it's just, when I go out on the road, I don't care what city I'm in, it's almost impossible for me to really get what I have, whether it's a Mexican food truck here or whether it's, high-end Southern Italian or whether it's just my backyard. It's really, it's pretty exceptional.
Well, and if you haven't traveled the country, you don't know that as much. I traveled 36 states now in the last couple of years, and it's interesting when you go into different states. It's like in California, I think we take things for granted, like quality restaurants, and there's just a lot of fast food in other cities.
Yeah, it
makes traveling rough.
It is. It definitely. I like to pack at least a meal for the plane coming out of here. Just anything to stave off what I've got to deal with once I land, a little longer.
What are the biggest spots for you to travel to for sales? What are big areas or territories for you to see?
New York City, some of the bigger cities in Texas.
Yeah.
Be it Houston, Dallas, that area. California, the state is so long and really even dividing, between northern and southern California. Thirds it's so different. I've spent a lot of time in the Southeast. It's huge, food and wine.
Atlanta
Atlanta's great. Charleston, South Carolina has been, just incredible. And the other spot, selfishly, because I love the city too, is Nashville. Just for for the music.
Yeah, yeah.
The food, music. It's that place is jumping. So.
Yeah, and there's a good store on Broadway down there that I helped open up.
Right on. That's so funny. Right on.
Well,
Did you say they just opened up there? Or
no, it's been there for a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
They had some in surrounding city, like the Grand Ole Opry and some of the different malls in the area, but they went down, finally opened up one right on Broadway.
Great. Well, it doesn't get any more front and center in that town.
No, that's
in that street.
It's dead center. What do you fly? What airport do you fly out of?
Man, it depends on where I'm going.
Yeah.
But I love going to Sacramento. There's more and more flights coming in and out of there these days, which is just awesome.
It's got to be a pain getting to Oakland or SFO.
Oakland is much easier than SFO
Yeah.
because I don't have to go over the
bridge,
over the Bay Bridge.
Yeah.
But so if I can, Oakland has the breadth of flights that I need to choose from. But SFO is a last resort. It's a great airport, but it's just a pain in the butt to get to from Napa.
And when you say pain in the butt, I used to live in Alameda and work in the city.
Oh wow!
It's a pain in the butt that goes way beyond what most people can appreciate.
Yeah, it's the transit out here is it's not what it could be, I guess. But
yeah,
Oakland Airport, they spent so much money there to just upgrading both sides of the facility, tons more flights, and Sacramento, I believe they probably doubled in size.
I like Sac.
Years.
I don't like landing in Oakland. I just don't like land. I don't like coming in over the water.
Well, then you don't like SFO either, but
correct. Or Portland isn't great for that either.
Portland, yeah. I got my pilot's license. It sounds luxurious, but it's really not. And there's a reason I don't fly anymore because I ran out of cash 10 years ago. So it was a very short-lived habit. But you're either gonna buy the farm on takeoff or landing.
Yeah.
So those are the two that you should be thinking about. But by and large, it's just nice to get on a commercial plane where somebody's doing it for a living and very focused.
I just had a commercial airline pilot on my show about a month ago, and her background was a C-130 pilot for the Air Force. And then after a decade of doing that, she flew for the United Nations in South Africa, going up to Ghana. And then she's been a commercial airline pilot for 10 years. I said, what's the biggest difference between commercial and military? She goes, I don't get shot at. And I go, okay.
Fair enough.
That's yeah. I got nothing about it. I can't even. It's like, holy shit. You're really.
Holy cow, man. That is, kind of puts everything in perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I go, so a rough day landing in Atlanta, walk in the park. She goes, oh yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
She said that even when she was flying for United Nations in South Africa, they would get shot at with AKs. They would people would just try and take pot shots at the big plane.
That's so great, right? You're just cruising along, and hey, what was that?
You're flying for the United Nations. You know what I mean? Like you're not even a military plane, and people are still shooting at you.
That's we could. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, well, now I'm like, oh yeah, and I had to sit in traffic today. Like, I guess I won't complain too much. Like, no one was shooting at me.
Well, yeah, no doubt. Well, and I'm actually on the road a good bit during certain times of the year.
Yeah.
In for vineyards and then also, we like to come down to Southern California and vacation with the kids. But cars are just so much dang nicer.
Tell me about it.
It's you don't have to spend a bunch of money anymore to get. Like right now, I usually take my phone calls or anything important where I have to hear, and you have to hear me in my car.
Yeah.
And so it's nice just to be able to plug the phone in and turn over the engine, and
I've done some of my podcast interviews from my car, where I've
it's
sat.
very cool.
Yeah.
I'm actually sitting in my car in the middle of the vineyard outside of my home. So
Okay.
I feel like I own the place sometimes. Today is one of those days.
Well, I'm gonna have to start checking. Like I'll start stopping Santa Cruz near Steamers and see if Fresh Vine is down there. I'm gonna look for all the surf spots.
Yeah.
Is that where all the?
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for doing that. I actually surf down there quite a bit. Pleasure Point is my favorite break. It's a little local.
Yeah.
And not everybody's real happy to see another person paddle out, but I've been able to pick my spots in that lineup through the years and really enjoy it.
Well, if you're,
of course, Southern California too for me is kind of a treasure trove of much warmer water than what I surf in on a regular basis up here.
Anything south of Halama is warmer.
Anything at Point Conception, man.
Yeah, that's Halama.
Line kind of cruises back in, and I've actually surfed Halama, and man, on that note, dude, that little hut, I don't even know if it's still there. It's been 3 or 4 years since I went, but it had one of the greatest hamburgers at Halama State Park, man. I'm not kidding.
I know.
And it's like a 16-mile. I think I'm right on that. Like 16 miles from when you leave the highway.
Yeah, and they're solving.
Yeah, and it's like, but man, I got to tell you, I came out of the water one day and was just super hungry and thought, what the, and so went right there, and it's one of the better burgers that I've had in the state, Halama State Park.
You would never know. And no, I mean, like you said, there's no one just ends up there.
No, you're going there for a reason.
Yeah, whether it's a hamburger or surf or.
Yeah, Tarantulas is the break there.
Yeah, too.
At Halama. There's Halama, and then Tarantulas is just a little towards Goleta there.
Yeah, we hit Tarantulas. It was that water is. I mean, I realize I've been spoiled being in Southern California, but boy, I went up there with my brother-in-law one time, and it was just like it was unbelievable. And I used to surf. I used to hit Ocean Beach, and I hit steamers, and when I lived up in the Bay Area. That water was cold, but I got used to it.
Yeah, Ocean Beach just for me by default because A, it picks up so much swell, and B, because I get to make my own schedule, I can usually be suiting up in about an hour and 10 minutes.
Have you ever surfed there when it's been real foggy?
Yeah, I have surfed there when it's real foggy. I've paddled out a couple of times. I don't sweat great whites, I guess, is
I don't either.
Better for worse. My grandfather always said, if it's your day, it's your day. So I've always took that to heart.
Well, and the thing I always think about too is, if they were to bite you, and that happens, but I mean, the percentage is, it's an accident. They're not coming after to eat you. They think you're a seal or something else, and usually you get nibbled on, and hopefully you just hope it's a small nibble.
Yeah, exactly. There's some big animals out in that water. I do know that, but and Ocean Beach, frankly, even on a small day, that place hurts.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point, in my life where for me, surfing doesn't have to hurt is my new motto.
Yeah.
So I'm while I'm relegated to going there, anytime I go anywhere else, I'm so thankful because rarely is it as heavy, even on a small day, as it is at OB. So I just and I spend a fair amount of time in Central America. I love it down there. I love the southern coast of Baja in the winter. But again, warm water is where it's at, man.
Oh, I tell you, I remember the first time I went to Hawaii, I was like, "Oh, I get used to this." Now I know why. Now I know why Hawaiians don't like coming to steamers or Mavericks.
I know, man. A select few.
Because it's just different, trying to paddle out in a full 5. It's like with a hoodie and gloves and booties on.
Yeah, it's a pain, man. I SU going out on those days, though. I am, and the cool thing is, man, Patagonia has come so far, and it's infiltrated the rest of the wetsuit business.
Yeah.
You probably know this, but I mean, I'm super toasty now in a 3-4.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I'll get 5. I mean, I wear 5 mil booties, but yeah, it used to when I first started surfing up here, it was 3, 4, 5 and a hood, and just not a whole lot of fun, man. Big thick ass gloves.
Yep.
So I've acclimated and enjoy how refreshing it is on a lot of days.
And then you go down to San Diego and hit blacks or something, and you're like, oh, this is what it's like not having an extra 30 pounds of weight on you. Yeah,
see a bunch of giant, fat, naked people. I love black. I love blacks, man. That the Ho Chi Minh Trail down. It is that place is I'm goofy foot, so for me, those lefts down there, even up on the sub canyon, right there. It's I love it down there, man. I'd like to spend more time down there.
There's a couple good breaks that you'd like as a goofy. Salt Creek would be good for you too.
I've surfed there. I've stayed at Dana Point. I've done some fundraising at the.
Is that where is that where we can find bottles of your fresh fine wine? All the surf spots.
Yeah, man. I tell you,
Am I letting the cat out of the bag? Is your wife going to hear this and go, "Oh"?
Yeah. You're going where?
No, honey. They said they want to see more wine. They really want the Pinot.
Well, that's the idea, man. I tell you, that would be the luxury.
Let me ask you this question: how have you and your wife, who your wife works with you at the vineyard winery?
She works with me at Whetstone. Yeah.
Yeah. How have you balanced having the 4 kids?
None of them wanted to come into the business or gave it even a sideways glance. I think they see how hard we work.
Yeah.
And the hours that it takes. But, it's and that's actually a really interesting question, but it's, being able to set our own schedules, number one, has been awesome. We're open from 11 to 4 every day. So my consulting business takes up a good bit of my time as well, in addition to my partnership with Fresh Fine. But, the schools around here are close by, at least, they were until they moved out of the house. The atmosphere here is pretty wonderful. The weather's great. I mean, it's been a real luxury for us. Even homeschool my 13-year-old now. It's been a nice opportunity to juggle, and which is key whenever you have kids. At least I've found out is if you have great in-laws and they live close by, as in the same town, you're stoked.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit.
Stoked. My mother and father-in-law had man, Michelle and I needed to split to not, pull each other's hair out, or we needed to just take a quick 24 into the city or whatever, man. They've always been there for us. And so that's kind of the crux of how we've been able to manage business and children and a marriage, by the way, which is
tough enough.
Those are
especially, I think that goes back to everyone thinks, oh, you own your own business. How easy is that?
Yeah.
And you go, well, yes and no. I'm curious, what was the thought behind homeschooling the youngest?
For my 13-year-old, the other 3 were not homeschooled, and there's a 5-year gap between our third and then him. But it's for us, we were paying an awful lot of money for private school, and I mean college level.
Yeah, tuition.
Money, and we really just did not feel that we were getting the education back. And on top of it, our son, the youngest of our 2 boys, he showed he's an A+ student. He's a brilliant kid, but he showed this aptitude for running over adults if he figured them out and didn't think that he had their attention.
I gotcha.
So it was I just got tired of going to the office and sitting down there with the head of the school and trying to to talk him or her through it as to why we didn't need to pull him out. And we looked at our lifestyles. Michelle, my wife, and I both did, and it was like, yeah, we're not. I mean, the middle of fifth grade, we pulled him, and the first, for the second half of fifth grade, it was a real nightmare because we were all, Michelle, myself, and the other three were still at home, and so it was a real struggle. I don't recommend it as an adult unless you've got unlimited amounts of patience, and you've also got plenty of time to fritter away. But the homeschooling has been fantastic, and it's given me a lot of opportunity to hang out with, the last one. I mean, he's going to be out of the house sooner than later, as you well know, with your kids. So it's just, for us, we've been lucky. So we've all sort of found our lane, if you will, and it works real good. My wife and I split up the duties, and I take math and reading and a little bit of science, and I take the bigger projects that he does, and then she takes history and social studies and the rest of the science that I don't get to.
Well, the reason I was curious to ask you about that, because I've had several of my guests and even some of my friends that have decided to homeschool, and for similar reasons. Whether it was just they didn't feel their child was getting the attention. Some of my business travelers, they're on the road so much that they take their kids with them, and
really
make that part of the curriculum. So.
Yeah, that's very cool, and I've had the opportunity to do that with our kids through the years. But Watson is he's the only one that we've homeschooled. The rest have just kind of come along on certain trips where we wanted to show them some culture or something cool. But it's not for everybody. But to your point, more and more folks are getting there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because public schools are what they are, and the U.S. public school system isn't known for being even in the top 40 in the country, in the world. So I think a lot of people are like, hey, I can do just as good of a job and not have to sacrifice my job. Because, one of the guys I had was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, and he goes around the world, mainly the country, but a lot of world stops. And he takes his kids with him because he's like, look, I don't have to leave them with other family members while I go out for work. They get to come with me, and we still teach them everything we feel they need to know.
That's pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
If you can pull it off, I hope that this country is going to come around to K through 12 education for everybody, and we get to a point where we celebrate teachers and pay them as much as the folks that they help bring up in the school system that are now doctors or lawyers or out on the road for sales or winemakers or whoever. It is one of the things about our country that I don't understand, and it's a real need. It's a real need.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think almost all parents have at least an opinion one way or the other. Whether they had my kids had a great experience. They grew up in Redondo Beach and, good schools and all that. And they both graduated college and they both got jobs and they're working, living on their own. Hey, it worked, So
that's pretty fantastic. Yeah. I see less and less of that last part that you said, which is, graduated with the degree that they wanted and now are gainfully employed and not living at home. The not living at home part is just it's a wonderful thing. I mean, for you as a parent, and we have 3 that are out now, which is great, and we feel good about it. But I think too many parents allow their kids to just come right back home and they don't learn how to handle the world, and the world is not a real fun place on a lot of days.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a parenting role, though. I think my younger one never wanted to come back when she was happy to get out, and she had great internships when she was in college and was working from her freshman year of college, and never didn't have there were periods where the internships would end or whatever, but. She was more anxious to work than we were, so good for her.
Yeah, that's cool stuff.
Yeah. What do you when you're traveling? I've been asked my guests, because for me, it's always curious. How do you fill up your time? If you've got a 3-hour or 4-hour flight to Nashville, are you doing work stuff? Are you listening to music, catch up on movies, sleeping?
Man, kind of both on the plane. If I need to rattle through some numbers or think about a talk I'm going to give when I'm on the road. The plane is really the flights for me have kind of become a refuge. Before the calm, before the storm.
Absolutely.
And, sales is it is literally a tough road to hoe. And in my business, the wine industry has become so crowded because of the proliferation of so many wineries that just don't necessarily have a plan. And I mean, like, financial or cash flow or P&L or whatever. And when I compete against them in the marketplace, I land, my distributor within the state or the city has already planned out, 5 or 6 appointments a day. And usually there's a dinner or something where I'm going to go and speak, afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's for me personally, it's when you're out there on the road and you're peddling alcohol, it's just a very different animal. And it's something that you have to corral, you have to wrestle it to the ground, and you have to really put it in its place as a wine salesman. And I'm a male on the road. I have female counterparts that just horrific stories of just what you'd imagine.
Yep.
So it's so my sales travel it's rugged, man. It's hard on the body, on the mind, and but it's also one of those things that you have to do. You have to get out there and work the market, as it were, or you're going to lose ground. But it's a cool thing for a little bit of time. It's not a great thing
Hey.
at all. You gotta, I mean, I'm just saying, it's. I know what you do as well, so it's just I'm good at it, and I'm stoked to be with people. So
it's yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it would be interesting because for me, I really don't have too much competition. I mean, I have big brands, but in the Western industry, there's 6 brands.
Wow.
And you could name them by heart, but.
Yeah.
I mean, wineries, Jesus, there's got to be hundreds. So
there are. And I mean, I've been in business at the Chateau here in Napa with Whetstone I founded Whetstone in 2002, but we bit the bullet with this place that we renovated and, restored this historic landmark for Napa. And it's 9 solid years of doing business, 11 to 4 every day, except a few major holidays. And we still get people walk through the door every single day.
Yeah.
Who are you guys? I've never heard of you before. And we're fine with that. It's like, well, cool. We'll take that opportunity to turn you on. But, it's the competition is staggering and it's untenable. So doing something cool, Whetstone is very established. We're lucky in that. After working, every day for a long time.
Yeah.
But doing something like with Fresh Vine, it's really wonderful because it's a completely different kettle of fish, and it's to be able to have the luxury of potentially sponsoring an Olympic team, to be able to go in and stake your flag at a great music festival like Coachella or Bottle Rock here in Napa. I mean, there's all sorts of opportunities out there. But I'm stoked, man. If I can continue to get paid. And
when are you going to be able to tell us which Olympic team it is?
Man, I can't right now.
No, I know. I said when do you think of it?
But I'll be able to announce that the first week of April.
Okay.
And then we've also got one of the most storied teams in the history of sports that we are what I'd like to call a gnat's ass away from nailing for their concessions for the next 3 years.
Nice.
And that's very exciting. So we're definitely looking at, the health world in general. People who are focused on it. So we're going to continue to grow our brand that way, and put it in front of the public, in ways that are, just like going in and buying a Stetson hat.
Yeah.
Frankly, it's just, at a point you become a part of a certain vernacular, and that's what we're looking to do, just to get into the heads of most people, so that it's there, and you see it, and you recognize it, and you know it. But again, just taking some bigger marketing ideals from other industries and bringing it to bear on in a very fresh way, into the wine industry.
That's so cool. I was asking about the Olympics because I've had five or six Olympians now on the show, and we talk a lot about healthy eating and lifestyles, even when you're traveling for as an Olympic athlete. So it'd be interesting to tie that in. I think you got a home run there. Just got to get it out there.
Yeah, we just and it's fledgling right now, so we're just excited, about our future. And Pete, again, just to be on the show is really cool on the podcast. I very much appreciate your candor.
That's all I got is my candor, I guess.
Well, it takes one to know one, right?
Exactly. That's why I was so excited to talk to you. And at first I was like, okay, a winery, but how do I tie that in? But, I don't think a lot of people understand. And when I started talking to people about my podcast, it was, well, aren't you going to run out of guests? I'm like, God, how could I ever run out of guests? I mean, people travel, and you would think, oh, you own a winery, you don't have to travel for work, but everyone has to travel. Almost everybody,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if you're doing sales in Nashville or Miami or New York or, throughout California, you got to get out.
Yeah, you do. I didn't heed some really awesome advice from one of my heroes out here in Napa. He owns a very storied winery and been around since the 70s. And I knew his dad before he passed. Anyway, when he found out I was starting Whetstone, this was in 2002, he just said, he said, you're just enough of a jackass where you're going to have to travel. You're going to have to travel for the rest of your life, Jamey, because you're going to be such a face of that brand.
Yeah.
That nobody's going to want to see your sales rep. You're especially, he's like, God help you. You've done exactly what we did. You're putting your name on the label.
Yeah.
So it has definitely come home to roost for me on that level. And I'm stoked to have the opportunity to do it, but it's just it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely adds a whole different feature to. Can I ask one last question? Because I'm just curious. I don't know how this works. Do you go through distribution companies, or is it a one-off? Like, I mean, if you try and get into a big restaurant, are you dealing with just that restaurant, or are there, i.e., a young market company that'll? Are you trying to?
Yeah,
how do you do?
Correct.
How's all that
you
work?
Have to go through. You generally, in the case of fresh vine, for sure, we'll go through distribution, and distribution went from like 4,000 companies 30 years ago down to about 800 now.
Yeah.
And so it's a very constricted marketplace, and you very simply go into the distributor, you present your wares. Hey man, this is what we've got to sell. Are you guys interested in it? And they'll look at it and see if they have a hole in their book, so to speak, their sales book, and then they'll take you on. And if and when they do, nowadays, it's very different than it was 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago for that matter. It's more about, okay, I need to get a contract in place with you. I need to know that you can come into the market once a quarter or once a month or whatever it is. And then there's expectations and sales goals, from the winery end, sales goals from the distribution end, and then that's the way it works. And then they, effectively will order in some of your product. It goes to the warehouse, for instance, in New Jersey, and you fly in and talk to their, 150 person sales team or their 6-person sales team. Again, depending on the size of the
Sure.
of the distributor and the footprint of the sales team, but and then you physically go out into the marketplace and sell wine. So it's there's that route. The other side of that coin is direct to consumer, which mine is currently, we just launched that side of our business. So we're putting wine on people's doorsteps, just like Amazon does.
Yeah.
And we will continue that. We will continue that side of our business for the life of the company.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because now with distribution, internet sales and everything else, it doesn't necessarily have to go through. If you can build up a strong enough social media presence, then you don't have to sell as much through distribution.
And that's all part of our process too. It's kind of like being in a rock band or whatever, where you start off and you've really got to be willing to do a lot of different things and to get your message out there. Social media to me is really wonderful, but it's also a little mythical. So I'm learning, how it works. It's just like being on your show today and seeing the viewer reach, man. It's just, again, it's a luxury that I can speak in front of people and talk, and I'm not afraid to do that, because that's really, the only way to get part of that done. And then just the social media side and being goofy, but surrounding yourself with people who are smart. I think I've surrounded myself with most folks that are infinitely smarter than I am. So I'm just kind of the blunt instrument at the front. But we're coming at it from all corners, and it's a frighteningly well-funded machine building, and I've really spent a fair amount of time and energy trying to understand and bringing to bear an awful lot of experience on a number of different levels to this currently small but globally bound wine company.
No, I think, man, I think you're right where you need to be. It seems like you've got a great product, you got great social media presence already. Just getting started off. You just introduced the cab last month in January?
We did, yeah. We just actually bottled it in January, and we just got it out toward the end of the month. So yeah, it's been pretty wonderful. Feedback in the wine world, you either go back and buy another bottle or you don't. It's pretty immediate. So we spent the better part of 11 months doing consumer tastings all over the country, just get them, get the bottles in front of people, them not knowing who we are, what we were doing, why we were there, and it was, we were in high-end health clubs, we were in, right around the corner from where we could see men's basketball playing outside. We were in a Whole Foods market.
Nice.
We really were all over the joint in terms of just targeting folks, just getting some honest feedback. So again, that's one of the luxuries that I have with my partnership and being able to do those things versus just thinking that it's really cool to have a winery and oh man, how am I going to sell it? My friends all want it for free. Nobody wants it.
I hear you.
It's an interesting thing.
As people want cowboy boots, I'm like, yeah, they're not free.
No, man. Dude, nothing is free anymore. There's no. Yeah, the barter system for me has been alive and well for a long time, but it's just starting to trickle. I see less and less people who are willing to go, oh, you make wine? Sure, send me a case and I'll trade you some legal advice. It's just, you're going to get a bill. I'd be happy to have your wine, thank you, but here's my bill for the hour that we just spent together, type thing. So
no, I hear you.
You have to have that coming at you, man.
My friends who want cowboy boots, I'm like, which boots are you looking at? And they go, oh, the alligators. I'm like, oh.
Right.
Those are
Why not the ostrich while we're on the same?
Those are $800. Sure.
Right.
I can't really gift that to you, right?
Yeah, I know, man.
Like,
wow. Oh my God, I know.
Well, hey, I truly appreciate the time, bud. What's the best way for my listeners to stay in touch with you and Fresh Vines and what you got going on?
Facebook, Instagram, freshvinewine.com. Love to talk with folks.
Did I lose you? Oh.
You'll start seeing it in major retailers. You can also buy it right off the website, and we'll put it right down on your doorstep, provided you're 21 years of age or older.
Yeah, as your website demands you be just to check out the website, which I thought was interesting.
Yep, correct.
I didn't know that. Yeah, so I'll put all the links on my website as well, right to Fresh Vine, and make sure to get them. And you still offer tours of the winery up there?
At Whetstone, we do, yes.
Yeah. Maybe next week when I'm up in that area, I'll have to.
Hey, listen, man. Seriously, you got my cell too, so please don't give it out over the air of the podcast.
No.
You do have it, so just hit me up when you know a day in advance that you're going to be out here, and I'd be stoked to see you here in Napa.
Yeah, and next time you come down to Santa Monica to visit the kids. Well,
absolutely, Pete.
See if we can't get a little grub on the Redondo Pier or Hermosa. So,
man, I like both those areas a lot. So yeah, let's figure it out.
You got it. Well, hey, thanks again for the time. Get back to work, buddy. Stop messing around.
I know, man. My wife walked by the car like twice, going looking at the pointing at her watch. I think my honey-do list is probably piling up.
Yeah, and you're like, no, honey, it's marketing. It didn't sound like it. It sounded like you were having a lot of fun out there.
I'm working right now. I'm struggling through this conversation with Pete Redondo. So not at all, man. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
You bet, buddy. And hopefully I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Jamey.
I look forward to that.
You got it, bud.
Take care, Pete.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You too.